there's some parents that realize we don't have to fit this formula of you graduate high school and then you go to college and then you get just a job in the corporate world,
Right.
and that's how you live your life.
Right.
And then there's some parents that still have that formula embedded into them.
Sure. Yes.
And so therefore they embed it into their children, and maybe their children go along with it,
Right.
or maybe, the children become bitter because of that.
Right.
Where, we always hear of the people that say, oh, I went to college and everything. And then you ask them, why'd you go to college?
Yeah.
Because my parents told me so.
Sure.
So how do you think that parents can change that outlook, maybe, where they're not just giving their child free rein because then they could do something stupid?
Sure. Yeah.
But not having to necessarily fit the formula of you graduate high school, now you have to go to 4 years of college
Right.
and
Yeah.
just get a job in the corporate world.
Great question. I'd say that it goes back to knowing what you're supposed to be raising your children for. Going back to what I said about safety, I think there's a sense in which we live in a world where fear-mongering has really become a norm. And we think that the goal of life really is to survive. A notion that Charles Darwin would absolutely applaud. And that's not what we're made for. The truth is we have a much greater calling. And I think parents need to recognize that their goal in raising their children is not to give their children all the ease in the world, all the convenience in the world, all the comfort, all the wealth in and of itself. It's their children were made for something. Parents are meant to be, I'd say, side characters in the stories of their children that enable them to go and fulfill a much higher purpose that God has called them to. And that often means parents foregoing a script that they've kind of written for themselves in terms of what they want their children to be. Ultimately remembering that children are a gift that we ought to steward for the glory of God. A gift that we ought to steward so that we can shoot out these arrows who will then go on and exercise dominion in this world, advancing Christ's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. That's the goal. And that's a very dangerous goal. That does require a lot of risk-taking. It requires a lot of dangerous, uncertain kinds of things. But trusting that the Lord is doing something with that. And so I think that actually, that's kind of where it has to start, with this reorientation on what we think children are for and what we think parenting is for. The goal of our parenting should be to shoot out these arrows who are going to be a righteous nuisance to a world that hates God and are actually going to bring order in all the chaos. There's a sense in which that's the goal. Our goal is really to teach them to fear God and obey His commandments, right? If that's what we're trying to do as parents. And I think if that's our fundamental principle, then I think we'd be more willing to go out and actually challenge our kids to do dangerous things, to go out there and not play it safe. And that's hard. I think for parents, that's hard because you want to protect your children from harm. You want to give your children the best sort of life, so to speak. But I think if we understood that fundamental principle, I think that would free many parents to begin to help their children just go forth and do what they need to do as mandated by God.